Alternative history, a different approach with far-reaching implications. In gradient decrease is absent. Melanin, skin pigment, is the biological signature of sunlight in only one hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. This melanin evidence is also ignored by the educational establishment. There is no day-night cycle because only the southern hemisphere is in sunlight. The northern hemisphere is cold, dark, and ice-covered. This was the age of the polar sun, a period totally written out of history. This 26,000-year cycle was once the fastest cycle of the Earth. This cycle period was only 6 hours. This means the Moon was so close to Earth, it speeded up the Earth's rotation. The 6-hour period was detected because of the pattern of tektites on Earth. Tektites fell to Earth similar to meteorites. Tektites are not found in bands across the globe. Instead, fell in this pattern, with 4 distinct peaks. This informs us the Earth was wobbling 4 times faster than the 24 hours axis rotation cycle. Because the Earth at present is not orbiting like a typical twin planet system, this means a more recent force acted on the Earth, throwing it away from an orbit closer to the Sun. This created a much reduced pull of gravity on the Moon. This allowed the Moon to orbit horizontally. The Moon is slowing down the rotation of Earth. This must result in fewer days in the years. However, the recorded history of all ancient calendars shows there is clearly a progressive increase in the number of days. This absolutely dictates that the Earth must be traveling in a wider orbital path to account for the increase in the number of days in the year. The Earth has been receding away from the Sun. This could only be achieved if the orbit speed of the Earth was massively accelerated. It is now necessary to establish the motion dynamic links between these events. Here, only gravity must dictate. This is all about cause and effect. It's all about what must happen next. The great advantage of this motion dynamic model is that it is totally impossible to dishonestly manipulate the movements of the heavens. Once this is set in motion, there is no option to pause or to halt the process, and there is no sharp turns. In every case, the cause and effects must be predictable and totally unavoidable. We must ultimately arrive back at the present observations. There is a spherical zone surrounding every large member of the solar system. This is called the Roche's limit. A large body will begin to disintegrate if it enters this zone. Only a very high-speed transit will limit the amount of disintegration. If the Roche's limit is very large, the passing body will continue to disintegrate. Light gases are the first to be liberated. Materials with a high tensile strength will be the last to be pulled off by tidal forces. Uniformitarianism, also called gradualism, demand that history happened in the Earth's present orbit location exclusively. Before the heavenly bodies were called by a Greek word, the planets, they were simply called the gods. Thousands of years before the Greeks, the ancients spoke of God's only begotten Son, a captured planet. The begotten gave his life so that others might live. The planet disintegrated. It became the planets of the solar system. This knowledge was recycled and reused at the time of the Renaissance. The begotten Sun was a giant planet, the mother of all planets in the solar system. Now enters the Sun's Roche's limit, with predictable and unavoidable results. The passage through the Sun's Roche's limit was about 20 years. This is the birth of Saturn. Saturn without the rings. The first to be pulled off the giant mother planet. It's made of very lightweight gases and the lowest density of all the planets. The captured planet, its appearance changed, continued through the Sun's Roche's limit, leaving a trail of debris, mainly gases. With sufficient mass, forms into the second planet to be created, Jupiter. The process continues, with decreasing distance between events. Next to be created is a planet not known to the modern world. Its location, predicted by Bode's law, is now the location of the asteroid belt. The ancients call this planet Tiamat, now missing from the solar system. Next to be created is the small planet Mars. Old Mars had a totally different appearance. Not shown here, Mercury was formed from solids at the end of the trail of debris. The remnant mother planet, now halfway through the Sun's Roche's limit. Tidal destruction began to decrease at this point. The profile of the new solar system, without Venus and Earth. From left to right, planet Mercury, Mars, the missing planet Tiamat, Jupiter, and Saturn. If Venus and Earth were present at this time, we would have 2 extra planets at the end of this sequence. Moving away from the Sun, the trail of debris and gases continued to be pulled off for about 10 years. The long trail of debris, now stranded, separated once, became Uranus and Neptune. The remnant mother planet exits the Sun's Roche's limit. Its transfiguration now complete. Still no Venus and no Earth. This is the perfect profile of the solar system, including the remnant mother planet on the right, now captured by the Sun, will return on its second orbit to cross the solar system. The Sun now orbited by the planets. To disguise history, the planets were presented as human beings. A kiss leads to the death of the Son of God on the cross. This kiss, a giant impact on one of the planets. The remnant mother planet was appropriately called the planet of the crossing, or simply the cross. Its path, crossing the solar system, is retrograde. This retrograde crossing is an accident waiting to happen. How many orbits were completed remains unknown. The Moon was formed by a giant impact on Earth is the accepted theory. This cannot happen. Two planets cannot collide because of gravity acceleration. Reduce the distance apart by half, and the smaller planet accelerate to 400% its original speed. Now, traveling far too fast to alter its course, the smaller must pass behind the larger planet. Even if this impact was possible, the theory is still incomplete because there is no impact-displaced orbit. The result is there are gaps in the knowledge. The planet of the crossing had at least two large satellites. One of these is the impacting agent. The other was pulled along by the impacted planet. Two different views of the planet of the crossing and its satellites. It is now at its closest point to Tiamat, the planet now missing from that orbit location. The giant impact did not result in the formation of the Moon, but instead the Earth was created. The impact displacement moved the planet from its original orbit location. The displaced planet is now the Earth. This is the first of 5 periods of mass extinctions on Earth. The Earth was created in 7 stages. This is the end of the first of 7 different world ages. This is also the biblical 7 days of creation. The ordered gradient profile of the solar system. This is about to change, but crucially, the number of planets remains the same. The planet between Jupiter and Mars, Tiamat, now missing, in its place are the fractured remains of the asteroid belt. This is the first appearance of Earth, but the continents were different at that time. Approximately 15 years for the orbit displacement. During this time, Earth with a shallow ocean and no dry land.